G'day guys, Steve Morgan here from Australian Bass Tournaments at the conclusion of the 2019 Daiwa BREAM Australian Open, held here at Drummoyne for 2 of the days on Sydney Harbour and for 1 day on the Hawkesbury River. I'm here with Ross Cannizzaro, perpetual second placed angler in this event. Ross, it's great to come second, but you'd love to win one day, wouldn't you? Really?
Definitely. I mean, it's my back door. It's my backyard. I play in this, every couple of weeks, and I would love to win an Australian Open. Won plenty of comps here, but an Australian Open would be very special for me.
Take us through your tackle and tactics for the weekend. You did something a little different from what you do normally. Tell us about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because we had so much rain that came through. I mean, we had a really good dumping of rain a couple of nights before, and it really did muddy up the system. It's not normally this dirty, so I needed to change up a little bit. And a couple of my friends have always said, and I'm even going by what you've said over the past, is you need to be very diverse, especially when you get a curveball like this. So I had to change my tactics up a little bit. Instead of throwing a plastic, I had to change and go to the cranker crab. It was just a little different. The bite was totally different from the plastic. Although I did get a lot of fish on plastic, I just didn't get those big fish that I needed to get where I was in the ladder board.
That the cranker crab, it does catch the big fish. It pulls a bigger fish. I don't know if it gets down deeper. The bigger ones are more inclined to eat it. But how are you going with your transition to cranker crabs? Because you've avoided them. I avoided them for years, and I got onto them a few years ago. Yeah. Now you're on the wagon. They catch, don't they?
Oh, they definitely do. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have their place in their time. Just speaking with a few of the boys, they always say that some days they work, some days they won't. And I mean, it's just I just needed to change things up a little bit for this week. Just being the fact that the colour of the water, and I was a little off with what I normally would do, and that's east of the bridge. So knowing there was a lot of fish up this river, I just thought that, in the past it's worked. I need to really knuckle down. And a good friend of mine, Chris McAuliffe, came over last night and gave me three of them. And I don't even own cranker crabs. He says, Ross, you need to be throwing these a lot more. So I tied them on, and thanks Chris, because they definitely worked for me.
What did you throw it on, and what was your technique with them?
Okay, so I'm a novice when it comes to cranker crab fishing, and although all you guys like to throw big long rods, I don't have a long rod. This is the longest rod I had. It's an old Veritas rod. A 3.5 kilo stick. I noticed that yesterday I was actually using that rod for up the river. It's a good crankbait rod. You all talk about having a softer tip with a lot of strength down lower, and that fit my purpose perfectly. But I think the biggest thing on that was the reel, and that's being the new Revo Roxani, and it's the 2,500 size. The 2,500 size, it's a little heavier reel, but it's got the cranking power of the 3,000 size reel with that big handle. And I do think that I was able to turn some of those big fish away from structure today because of it. I lost a really big fish on the first day because I had a smaller size 2,000 reel. The cranking speed just wasn't good enough to recover that line, and I think that really cost me.
Any of the sponsors that you'd like to thank? You do a lot of these events and get to a lot of places.
Yeah, definitely. First and foremost, it'd have to be Abu Garcia, Pure Fishing Australia. They look after all my tackle. The Abu Garcia Revo range has come a long way, especially for a reel of its caliber. I mean, the class of it's amazing. I've used them, and I'm pretty heavy on my gear, so and they definitely are a very robust reel. I had a small issue yesterday with some fuel in the boat, some bad fuel, and Evinrude is just a major support in this. So, Mickey from BRP were on the phone constantly last night, and he had his daughter's 8th birthday party, and I thank him so much for helping me out. Coco came around, threw the diagnostics on it, checked it all out. Bad fuel, so we drained the tanks out. I shot down to the river, chucked it on the water at 11 o'clock last night just to make sure everything's fine. It's the Open. I mean, you need to make sure everything works perfectly. We've talked about this plenty of times. And as much as it throws at you, you need to just get back on and just keep going and going and going. And I was messaging the boys at 11 o'clock last night. They're like, you're an animal, you're an animal. I said, it's just what you do. It's the Open. My wife, amazing support from my wife, incredible. She just, she has my back every time. And I really appreciate, babe, you do so great. And Hobie Polarized have come on board this year. Steve Fields from Hobie Australia come on board with the new sunglasses for this year, and also the Power Pole distribution for Australia. Amazing product, guys. It definitely, not this weekend so much, but as we are here, we're stationary right now, but I'm sure that this year I'll be using them in a few events, but they're a massive thing for my boat, and I'll definitely use them a fair bit.
Well, there you go. Second place in the Australian Open, Ross Cannizzaro. Again, check out all the results on www.abt.org.au.